Mm-hmm. Yep.
When we think of India, we usually think of beautiful places like the Taj Mahal. For me, I kind of remember watching A Little Princess, the movie, as a kid, where the little girl was from India. And you kind of picture it as this like beautiful place, and I also Googled people of India, and the Google search gave me a couple pictures that looked like this. But I think, in a way, we kind of have the wrong picture, because this is really only about 15. According to K.P. Johannen's book, No Longer a Slumdog, which was published this year, this only represents about 14% of the whole population of India, who are basically considered worthy or wealthy enough to enjoy places like this. Mother Teresa said that the biggest disease today is not leprosy or tuberculosis, but rather the feeling of being unwanted. I think this is true for the children living in the slums of India. I then took a Google search and I put children living in slums of India, and that is what I got. There is about 750 million people living in India who suffer from need and abuse. The children living in these slums struggle to survive in poverty, abuse, and neglect. And what's worse is that they can do nothing or very little to change this. First, I want to talk about the where they live, the living conditions of these slums, what the people do to survive, and why they can't do anything about it, why they can't change their life situation. Slums are usually large populations of people living in one area. You can see all these little houses, they're crowded. The houses are made out of whatever they can find on the streets, basically, like tarp. And there's obviously no indoor plumbing. I'm going to take a closer look into one of the slums, and that's kind of what it looks like. There's obviously no plumbing, and bathrooms are only available to 1 out of 3 people living in India. And according to Jason Mandrick's book, Operation World, which was published in 2010, 11 million children are abandoned, and 3 million of those live on the streets. 90% of those are females, and what do they do to survive? Well, the majority of them end up in prostitution, and a majority of the children get sold to what are called slumlords. They basically have to go out in the streets, beg for money, come back to the slumlord at the end of the day, and they only bring about 10 to 15 cents per day. And if the slumlord is not happy with the earning, they can basically disfigure the child. They abuse them, burn them, and here's the result sometimes. And after the child goes back out on the street, they look, people pity them more, so they'll give them more money. And that's the reason for it. The children who do have families, they usually don't go to school, even though public schools are free, because they can't afford notebooks, another change of clothes, they don't have all that, and so that's why they can't go to school. And the other thing is that they have to work so that their family can survive. Their family really depends on the money that they earn. So why can't these people change the situation that they're in? Well, I found the biggest reason, I thought, was that 82% of India practice the religion of Hinduism, and if you know anything about this, they have a god named Brahma, and if they're born, they're basically born into the caste system, and there's 4 main castes, and at the top, those are the richest, in the bottom is kind of the lowest castes. You can see the commoners, peasants, and servants. And then under all of those are the outcasts, and they're called the untouchables. And these are usually the people that live in the slums. They're called Dalits, and the word Dalit means oppressed, broken, and they're usually given the dirtiest jobs. And although India has outlawed the caste system, it's really hard to change the people's mindsets because they've been doing this for so long that they believe that they deserve to be, in the low of the low. So they don't even want to do anything again to work their way up. And usually nobody does work their way up. They marry into the caste and there's no way to go down or up. It's kind of like picturing your dog Lucky. He's been chained for a long time and he's running in circles. This is his area for a very long time. And so you take the chain off. He thinks he's still in this circle. He thinks he's still chained. He's going to keep running around, kind of like the people, the Dalits. They've been chained for so long that even if you tell them, like, you don't have to live this way, they believe that they're supposed to live this way. So basically, a day of the child living in India, they go to work, they come home where there's nothing to eat or, sometimes a little bit of something. And the worst part is they believe that they deserve it. But I don't want to leave you guys all super depressed because I found this chart, and if you look right here, this is the 1990s. That's how many people were living in the slums, and that's in 2007. So it's about half less than it was before because of people coming in from the outside and helping these children. So there is hope.